Hey everybody, it's Richard back here. Let's just it's time for the Q&A video, and I'll just jump right into it. I would like to answer this one first of all by Jen Likes Loki. Here's a question that I want to ask you: can I make fan art for RWBY Cherish because I love Wise and Yang's designs? Well, first of all, thanks. And yeah, sure. I don't know of any situation where you wouldn't be allowed to make fan art for anything. I mean, even Nintendo lets you do fan art. And look where that went. But yeah, you're free to do so anytime. But I'll just say that the designs are not final, so you might want to wait for that. Next is by Just Another Guy. Have you read the World of RWBY official companion? If so, what ideas could you use from the information that wasn't clarified in the show? Well, first of all, I have read the companion secondhand through Celtic Phoenix's stream and through screenshots and other stuff taken by other members of the server. And generally, a lot of stuff that pretty much already knew. And basically, I don't see much changes really happening because a lot of the information, the book didn't really add much information that really changed much. Though I will say that the confirmation about Watts being based on Dr. James Watson from Sherlock Holmes, we'll probably use that. And about Watts himself, I'll get to that in another question. Just Another Guy also asked, if RWBY Cherish were to become popular enough to catch Rooster Teeth's attention, what do you think might happen? Well, let's say we did discuss that and what might happen, both good and bad, but basically we just want to keep a low profile. We want the fandom to know about yes, but Rooster Teeth, basically, it's a fan work at the end of the day. So it should be fine as long as we don't take away viewership from them. And how could we? It is a completely different story. I'll just leave that there. Sebastian Sprudel said, do you have any plans for introducing your own original characters into this? Also, what from Rooster Teeth's version of RWBY will you change as top priority? I'm a big fan and I'm hoping this goes well for you. Thank you. Well, there are OCs in this from other members as well, because RWBY Cherish at the end of the day is a community project and there's a celebration of the RWBY fandom. So what we want to do is really take the best that the fandom can offer, because these fans took the inspiration from Monty to make something new, to participate in that world. So we want to really celebrate that. So I do have my own original characters, like the Wild Hunt that I mentioned in my last video, which are a prominent faction in the world. And just generally, they are original characters. More on that later, but they will not be obviously as prominent as the canon characters. They won't upstage them unless they fulfill a certain niche or role that canon does not really fulfill. So that's that. Honeymoon, Thunder Goku, and Atomic Forgery asked very similar questions regarding, are you going to rewrite just the first 3 volumes? Are you basing it around volumes 1 to 3? Are you going to, follow those events? And basically, what the direction we're taking is that we want to sort of follow the same general story beats. That's the plan, at least, that the same initiation, the breach, fall of beacon, that sort of thing. However, with the way things are going, I do think that we are going to definitely expand a lot more within that time frame, and just generally play around it, so we can just really have more interactions with Team RWBY, have them in Beacon, a little longer. I'll just say right now that the plans right now is definitely to have Team RWBY stay in Beacon for uh, a few more years even, not just have the fall happen within their first year or so. So 3, maybe even 4 years, so that Team RWBY would already be almost a professional huntsman before the fall happens. So that alone would mean that a lot of the plot would change, the structure, the fall, the breach. Generally, those do happen, but the context will probably be different. Characters that are prominent in those certain moments would be switched around. So that's all I can say at the moment, because we do have certain outline proposals, but nothing that really settled on yet. But I can definitely say that the general idea is to keep the major events, as in the story beats, but there are a lot of changes depending, because we also want to interweave the different character arcs to make sure everything is as satisfying as we can make it. Okay, so the enemy noob, Helldrake 777775, Deepest Red, and Puck have asked questions about specific characters like Adam, Oscar, Pyrrha. So, and how we're going to treat them. I'll give a broad answer first, which is, first of all canon characters introduced in RWBY, we will prioritize them. So even the obscure ones, we will try to implement them somehow. However, they are open to redesigns, reworks, to change them to fit the project, but to keep the general approach with them. For more major character arcs like Pyrrha, those are huge topics of discussion that we never really settled on. So that alone is pretty much not settled yet. And for Adam specifically, what this version of Adam is going to be, he is going to be a mentor figure to Blake, sort of a guardian figure. They both basically grew up together in the Fang, and Adam feels betrayed by what Blake did, because they are practically family. So he treats it as a betrayal. But age-wise, they're about 18, 5 years apart, I'd say. 16, and we're settling about 23 for Adam. Not that much older. So, so it's sort of, you can say a brother-sister relationship. But, if you're a Toradora shipper, we can accommodate that. But, yeah, that's Adam in a nutshell. Mentor figure. And he's based on the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, not Gaston. Okay, so to expand on the anime noob's question just now, specifically, how different are the main group's personalities going to be, and are you changing Team Juniper? Juniper, likely haven't done much for them, but likely there will be some changes. And for Team RWBY themselves, there will be slight changes to their personalities, yes. Like how, hopefully the vibe will still be the same, but with Blake, especially Blake, she will be more shy, more withdrawn, because it just fits more that she's supposed to be a criminal in hiding. Even if, because here she's not necessarily the daughter of the leader of the White Fang, be changing that, but she's still a member of the White Fang. She wouldn't just walk up to one of the Shinee heiress and roast her. So I think she's making her more withdrawn, more shy, because she's basically an outsider in Vale, and she has this fear that she's going to be found out at any time. So that's Blake. And for Yang, definitely going more towards that party girl route, the delinquent, the very wild, very carefree, free-spirited person. And then have her mature more. She still has the muddly streak, obviously, but it's more displayed in a sense that she wants to help people, especially Ruby, and kind of hurts herself in order to do so. Puts others' needs before herself because that's how she and Ruby grew up. So I'll just leave that there for now. So for related questions, we're from Orcatrans5. I'm so hyped for this. Will you be making any alterations to weapons or semblances? Yes, actually. Crescent Rose is getting a redesign. You'll see that in the Team Ruby reveal video. It operates the same way, more or less. It's scythe form, the glaive form that kind of sticks up, but also an axe form, battle axe form, where the blade falls downwards. I needed to redesign Crescent Rose because I'm not a 3D modeler, for one, so I don't think in 3D necessarily. So Monty obviously knew every inch of Crescent Rose when he modeled it in Poser. I did not create that, so I don't know how it works every inch of it. And to draw Crescent Rose, likely hundreds of times, I need to know how it works. So I had to redesign it, make sure that I knew which parts go where, how it falls, and just generally an updated design for the weapons, I think, would be something fresh for the series. I don't think anyone really redesigns the OG weapons unless it's for a time skip sort of AU thing. So I do intend to do that. For most of the weapons, I'd say Murdernaster has slight changes because I'm sick of people drawing Murdernaster like it's an arming sword. It's not the revolver part is huge. It's almost the size of Weiss's head. It's a rapier, okay? The blade is thin. So making sure that is out of the way. So I have to redesign it just so that people don't think that it's like an arming sword and draw it huge. For Blake's weapon, haven't redesigned it yet, but I am thinking of making it more katana-like. Because they're cool, weave sword and all that, and just generally, have more, because Blake, combat-wise, even in the show, is very underutilized. Especially her kusarigama, the sickle thing. She throws the string. That's very underused in the series, and I think I know why, because her weapon is complicated. It's very complex, and so I hope that by redesigning it a bit, understand how to use it, we can use all of its forms more often, more efficiently, and not just the sword form. And as for Yang, I like Ambaselica. I think it'll largely stay intact because it's just a very simple weapon. Not much would change except for maybe a little bit of how it might look, the armor platings. And just as a extra note, I do intend to give them new weapons as time goes on, time skip weapons. I know Blake will definitely have one after her Fateful 5 Adam. You don't just break Gambler's Shroud and put a little well there. So you like, oh shit, can I say that? Oh damn, Gambler's Shroud is broken. She's gonna get a new one. No, she's not. So gonna give her a new weapon. Yang will get an upgrade too. for Amber Celica, from I'll just say she has 4 knuckles, so 4 barrels. Leave that at that. So that's that for weapons. Semblances, some semblances work differently, I think, mostly because of the lack of detail within the series itself about the consistency of semblances, like RWBY, for example. So just making sure that they're consistent. Like Coffee, for example, their semblances were revealed in the Before the Fall book, it was called. Yeah, I think so. And not much detail, but there are tweaks there to make sure it's more visually clear what the semblance does, because it's while discussing the semblances, we realized it suited maybe a literary format, but visually it's a bit hard to understand, so we did discuss that. That is the semblances. Okay, next question from YoJack875. With much changing from original canon, on what basis do you decide what gets to stay or what doesn't? So that's based on just now. Basically, on my first video, the RWBY Needs a New Beginning video, I've said that I have 2 general approaches. One is what Monty likely would have done, if not actually, then in essence. So, and 2, what would be good for the story regardless of whether Monty did it or not. And yeah, to an extent, Rooster Teeth too, because they made it together. But Monty was the one with the vision in his head. He knew what it was like. Miles and Carrie, yes, they did help build the world, but it's through a second-hand experience. They don't see RWBY in their heads like Monty did when he animated the red trailer. That's what I mean when I say Monty's intent. As an artist, I get that. So basically, for the so what Monty did, canon-wise, we are keeping it as much as we can, but the essence is important. Because like I said before, it can look like RWBY, it can sound like RWBY, but if it doesn't feel like it, then I think the point is completely missed. So as long as I think we keep that feel, the over-the-top action, the cool character designs, and even update it towards for modern day, because RWBY is old. It was made in 2013. It's iconic, but sometimes you need to carry it forward, if you know what I mean. So yes, we want to respect Monty's work as much as possible, but we want to preserve the spirit of it most of all. And with just the amount of stuff we're expanding onto the world, there's no way at all we can know what Monty planned for all of it. Maybe the legendary Book of Secrets of Monty's writings are somewhere out there. We don't have it, and we'll probably never get it. So it came to a point where we had to stop splitting hairs about what Monty would have written in 2013, all those years ago, and just think about what would he write, like now, or just in general, like just what would Monty like Final Fantasy, like this sort of influences. What is the sort of thing that would influence his decisions that will make a cool world? And then just figure out how to make it all cohesive and work together and make sense. So that's the answer to that question. Rejoicing Fake Priest, Yorokobe Shonen, said, my question, will the Silver-Eyed Warriors, the Maidens, and the Relics still be relevant and cherished? Yes, but not in the way that you know them now. Basically, at first, when I first made that video, RWBY Needs a New Beginning, I said that the gods, the Relics, and the Maidens are up in the air. after much discussion, we did settle on keeping them, but reworking them for some cool ideas. The brothers are kind of the brothers Grimm now, so it went from being these deities to these basically the Grimm from the Shattering, if you remember that. Uh, the maidens are still here, but the power system is still in the works because it won't be Avatar, that's for one. So they're still working on that. Want to make it more tied to dust because my point still stands that the magic system should still be tied to aura, dust, and semblance. So the maidens should adhere to that. And the relics, they won't be MacGuffins, I believe. The lamp and all that, I don't think we're keeping like what they are. There might be relics in word only, but they are like completely different. They're just like relics in the sense of really old object, like an heirloom, like the crown jewels, a symbol of a kingdom's heritage, something like that, or weapons, like ancient weapons, but not game-breaking ancient weapons. Something that won't break the story, but add to the world, add a little bit of conflict, a little bit of a matter of conflict, because these are still weapons or whatever objects they are. But that's just where my head is right now. Not confirmed, but in regards to the relics, that is where we're going down. They're not magical. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. They're not magical. They are objects at the end of the day. So that's that. The hybrid Viva asked, would there be Kaiju Grimm? They're tier 4 Grimm, if that's what you're asking. Tier 4 Grimm are unique, and they can be huge. Likely the size of Kaiju, but not all of them. And there'll be a trade-off. Think of it like the Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter. You have really big ones, like Zoramactros, but they're slow. You need a lot of weapons, yes, but they can't. They're slow. They're big. And then there's like the Kirin, which is fast, agile, very powerful, but small. So there's always some kind of trade-off with the Grimm. Tier 4s, which are unique. So each one have their own strategy on how to beat them, which the heroes had to figure out. And they're very fun. Tier 4s are some of the more fun designs I get to do because they're unique and based on mythology, stuff like that. How Juniper's designs coming along? Yeah, not yet. I'm still designing Team RWBY. And what's your favorite RWBY fanfic? I don't read fanfic, for one. Not fanfiction. I'm a very visually oriented person. I do like Silver though. But who doesn't? Not that I can really think off the top of my head. I don't really read much, unfortunately. I'm a visual scrub. El Capitan says, the common criticism of the lore you are creating is... Okay, let me slow down that. The common criticism of the lore you are creating is that it overuses Arthurian legends as its inspirations. Do you view that as a problem or even a potential problem? First of all, I have not heard that it is a criticism, let alone a common one, that there was a problem with me using the Arthurian legends as the inspiration. But Veil itself, its formation, its origin, its ancient history is based on Arthurian legend. I felt that's appropriate, It's the knightly values, an age of fantasy, of chivalry. It fits Veil. But Veil itself is made up of a lot of cultures. There's, fairy tales, European stuff, a bit of American. It's a mixture, but its origins can be titled to an Arthurian legend, because Arthurian legend is very well known. It's famous. It's something that you can associate with, which is what RWBY does. And to add on that, no, I think that's a spoiler. I'll keep that for later. Okay, fine. I'll tell you. You know how Oscar doesn't have an inspiration? It's not based on anything other than, unless you count the trope of farm boy becomes the hero, an inspiration. But no, given Oscar, let me talk about Oscar. Oscar, as he is now, is not Oscar's a meat sack. We worked him so he's his own person. He is a protege that Oscar finds and trains to as a successor, sort of. We're still working on that. But Oscar is sort of like the Arthurian figure in the show. He's sort of the Aragorn in that sense. Because I like Oscar. You know, some people don't like Oscar, yes, because yeah, he's a useless meat sack. And yeah, I kind of agree, but I like him. You know, I can't help but like the kid. Okay, he's such a nice boy, so I want to keep him. But you know, sometimes, you know, yeah, I'm keeping him. Okay, there's no argument there. Sorry, but Oscar is like Ospen is like the Merlin who guides Arthur to be a king. That is sort of what I'm going with Oscar. Except Oscar is not based on Arthur. Oscar is based on Galahad. Galahad being Lancelot's son, who, not in all versions, but in some versions, is the person who finds the Holy Grail in Arthurian legend. Basically, the protagonist of his own story. And finding the Holy Grail, not literally, but symbolically, for, you know, just restoring peace and order, doing a great feat, and, you know, restoring order to the kingdom, which is Vale in the sense. So that's the direction I want to take Oscar. Which obviously sounds big, right? You know, he's Galahad, apparently. I like that. I kind of like that. But yeah, that I am aware. Okay, I am aware that it could lead to the 3 protagonist problem that RWBY has been having. RWBY, John, and Oscar being the triple protagonist thing. And I am doing my best to work with that, to have RWBY still be the main focus. But RWBY is a huntress. She's not a politician. Neither is John. You know, they're not kings in that sense. But I think Oscar, being that farm boy from a humble beginning archetype, he is the best fit for this sort of arc. This boy who would become king arc. So we are trying to figure out a way to implement that. Because I think if we can do that, that'd be really cool, because as we all know, Vale just gets absolutely destroyed in the fall. Someone has to rebuild it. It's not going to be RWBY. She'll be finding Salem and John. So I think Oscar's the best fit for that. So that is where my head is with Oscar. Yeah, and I just told all of that to you instead of making my own video about Oscar specifically. I don't know if I should have done that. Moving on, Kudus Hashim says, I have a question. What is the format of the project? Like, is it going to look like a Monster of the Week format, or going to be a heavy storyline format? And just generally about similar questions from other people about whether, like, Eagle the Medic, and other people who's asking, like, you know, what will it look like? Is it a manga, animation? Optimally, optimally, we want it to be obviously a 3D animation because that's what RWBY was. But we're poor and destitute. We don't have resources or manpower. Not until this project picks up, hopefully. So, right now, we're following a more visual novel style format. 2D. I'm the artist, you're the artist. We have an artist team, but yeah, they're busy. They have lives. Everyone does. I give my life to this project and everything else. So, visual novel style. But we have voice actors because that's amazing. It will be voiceover work. But that's our working system for now. I do wish we had 3D animation though, but let's be realistic here. So that's where that is. And as for what was the question again? Oh yeah. So we want to keep the lighthearted focus on RWBY. It would feel episodic in the sense that it starts out very lighthearted, single adventures. But I think as it goes on, the plot would have to move forward. And they have to address the conflict. As the conflict comes to them and the stakes get higher, they can't ignore it anymore. That's just how escalation is. So to answer the question, both, I guess. I mean, that is what shows do nowadays, right? They start episodic, as in they capture what the show is on an episode-to-episode basis well. So you got a conflict, you settle it, you get your nice fight scene, you get your jokes, all that. You get it all in one episode, and that's good. And then, as you expand it, as you deepen it, as the characters get deeper, you have to expand the storyline. And it has to get, the story gets more complex, it requires more episodes to do so. I just think that's how it's going to naturally evolve. So that's that. Okay, here's a fun question from John Moya. If you had the opportunity to choose any animator at all, free of charge, who would you want animating Cherish, and in what style would you want it shown in? Okay. Can I cheat? Can I say two names? Because we all know what the two names are. Dylan Gu and Mark Sang. They know RWBY, they animated it. Enough said. 3D animators. What style? Yeah, 3D. That's how RWBY is. I mean, I could say that Arc System Works or whatever should do it, and that is a fair point. But you did ask only one animator, not a studio. But since some of you might be curious, if I had to choose a studio to animate like a RWBY reboot, I saw, because I look on YouTube a lot when I'm wasting my time, that most people want Arc System Works to do it because it looks great. Have you seen the models? Have you seen Guilty Gear, Dragon Ball Z, Grand Blue Fantasy? It looks amazing. But I disagree because Arc System Works makes games, not stories. I've played a bit of Guilty Gear Xrd. I didn't understand a damn thing. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I didn't understand a damn thing. If there was a studio that would do a reboot of RWBY, hands down, I think it should be Studio Orange. They did Land of the Lustrous, or in RWBY language, Hoseki no Kuni. They should be the ones. They're making great stuff. I've not actually watched any of it, but I know it's good. I've seen it. And that just completely negates my point, doesn't it? But they do stories. Arc System Works doesn't. They can, and it's easy enough for Studio Orange to emulate that style anyway. I really shouldn't have said that I didn't watch any of it. I just feel like I'm just saying nothing right now. Okay, moving on before I embarrass myself. We got shipping questions, baby. 3 of them. By Amanda Alfred. Who also asked, what is your favorite fight in RWBY and in anime in general? In RWBY, hands down, Play in Pieces. My favorite fight scene in RWBY, in all of it, that made me fall hard for the show, man. You know that? Can I gush? Can I really just? You know, it's just the and then she just does the boom. She flies, and then she whizzes past the camera. With a whoosh. Oh, I get chills every time. So that's my favorite. That made me really fall in love with the show. I was like, married for life. Put a ring on it. Anime in general? Too many to count. I'm not gonna answer that. I'm sorry. But she also asked, what do you think about Bumblebee? And OK5 asked, what do you think about White Rose? And Joy Simiakos asked, how will you handle romantic relationships? I need to pause for this one because I need to think. Okay. I'm kind of a shipper myself. I dabble a bit. If you want to know what, stick to the end of the video. But you know, romance, shipping, I put it this way, relationships exist. They're a thing, you know. Some people are friends, some people like each other. That's how people work. So it happens in stories. And it should happen naturally, organically. I ship certain characters because I feel like I can understand what a relationship between them would look like in the story, in the context of the story. I could give examples, but I don't want to get lynched immediately. I want to get lynched at the end of the video, so I'll save it for that. Oh boy. But to expand on Joyce Simiakos' questions, that's it on shipping, by the way. Sorry. Nothing specific. Will this series be very similar to the original or be completely different? Like I said, keep the spirit. At the end of the day, has to feel like RWBY. It could, I'll tell you, it could look completely different the way things are going, because the designs, they need to feel distinct to cherish. We want people to look at a project like this and not just think that it's a rehash of Volume 1. That's not the point. The point is new life for RWBY. You know, old fans, new fans, look at it and feel, wow, this is fresh. You know, this makes me want more. You know, it's. I'm not saying the Volume 1 stuff is bad. It's great. It's our basis, but how do I say this without destroying everything I just built? The spirit of it, basically, because you know a lot of cool stuff came out that Monty can never experience, and people from all over my server experience that Monty wouldn't know of, that I wouldn't know of, that they share, and I find it cool, so I implement it. And in regards to Volume 1, let me just put it this way. I know it's a tangent, I'm supposed to be answering the question, but the tangent is basically that, let me pause that, need to think. Like I said, the story beats are the same, generally, you know, very, very generally. But at the end of the day, I asked myself this question, do I really, yes, I wanted to make a RWBY that was truer to Monty's vision. But at the end of the day, I asked myself, do I really just want to watch Volumes 1 to 3 again, just with a little bit of changes? It was a tough question to answer. At the end, I answered, I don't think so, because I like Volume 1 and 2, 3 enough, and the trailers, that I'm fine with them as is. What's the matter really is the whole thing, the whole cohesive whole that needs adjustment. And I think that if there are changes, let's not pretend that they aren't. Okay, if there are changes that benefit the story, visual changes, redesigns, I'm for them. It's a lot harder, I can tell you. It'd be a lot easier to please people just showing slightly tweaked Volume 1 designs, because it's what people know. It's what people know. They're happy with it. But sometimes it's not new for new sake. You want to make improvements, and this basically it has to do with my passion too, because I'm designing everything. Sometimes when I design something and it feels like I understand why I drew it certain way, I understand the decisions I made, I feel more personal to it. I know it's supposed to be, Monty's project that he made, and but I'm already some third perspective halfway across the world, never met him, who is interpreting what he might have thought of. So I think that I might as well just go with what I imagined, instead of trying to interpret everything according to how Monty would have done it. Because again, there is no book of secrets, at least one that I can get my hands on. So changes would happen. I'm sorry to say that if some of you do just want to see Volume 1 to 3 just with some tweaks, but if you really want to make something new, if you really want to reinvigorate RWBY and not just play on nostalgic value, not just like have this scene, it's slightly better now. It has to be, this whole thing is new. This whole thing is breathing with life, and you want to know more about it. That includes plots too. If you know everything is going to happen, yeah, there's some fun in that. But for new viewers, they want to experience new stuff. And this is a reboot, okay? A reboot. Imagine RWBY 10 years from now. What would it look like? It wouldn't look like Volume 1, I can tell you that. It's just how it is. It's not how it is, okay? It's how I chose it. How I chose to go with this, because it's 2019, 7 volumes later, and as iconic as the Volume 1 designs are, they require not change as in they weren't good, but change as in just a consequence of people being so used to them. Good as they are, people are used to them. So to add our own interpretation, it will make this reboot unique. It will make this project unique. You don't look at it on DeviantArt or something and think, oh, that's just a Volume 1 redesign. No, that's RWBY Cherish. That's the unofficial RWBY reboot. That's what it looks like. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I went on a huge tangent. Third question, I answered that in a very long way. Will other characters get any redesigns as well? Short answer, yes. Nearly all of them will get tweaked in some way or another. Moving on. We're down to the more fun miscellaneous questions now. Xavier Soto 5 says, which main character was the most challenging to redesign and why? I'll go one by one. I like telling stories. RWBY's Crescent Rose was hard. It was fun, but it was hard because Crescent Rose is like one of the most complicated weapons, and just RWBY in general is taking a while. She is still taking a while to redesign because I'm not quite happy with it. Mainly her collar and her sleeves. I mean, I just don't like. Part of me just doesn't really know how to do her collar and her sleeves. I don't know what else can say. Wise is fine. Murder Nester, you know how Murder Nester reloads? Wish I had something. Where you reload it and it's like a revolver, right? So it's a break open type where it breaks open and the blade is facing down and then she reloads it. I didn't like that. Yeah, that's the official design what he did. I didn't like it. It's like you crack it open, it swings down, it hits the floor. And you have to stand up while doing it because the blade is on the ground. So it's like I need to figure out how to make this thing reload while keeping the blade straight. That took a long time. I still don't know how to do it. I'm getting there. I have a few options because just like the revolvers have a side reload option thing. And someone, midnight lady suggested that Murder Nester, the flanges should open up like a flower, and that's how you reload the weapon. I think that's brilliant, but I don't know how to interpret that yet. I'm figuring that out. Gamble shot. Blake. Blake was pretty straightforward. I might have to take a look at the designs again. Blake's pretty cooperative. She's a nice cat. Yang. One thing about Yang that always bothers me, and I still don't know how to deal with her, and it's just like RWBY, it's the sleeves. The puffy sleeves. But I think I have something now. Something maybe more like a jacket. Because the design you're seeing on Twitter as of this moment is not final, by the way. But yeah. Most challenging, I'd say. It's one of the sisters. I'm guessing. It's one of the gay sisters for the reasons I stated above. Next question. Cylon Racer says, "What's worse, Sword Art Online or RWBY?" Don't get me started on Sword Art Online. Just don't, because I'm gonna start, and I will, because Sword Art Online, I saw that trailer and I fell in love more than I had any right to. Cause I just really like the idea, the virtual reality thing. Then I watched it, and the rest. I was so pissed off with Sword Art Online. I made a whole new story, a whole new universe just to spite it. That's another thing I don't want to talk about yet. It's my own thing. But yeah, Sword Art Online. Between Sword Art Online and RWBY, I'll give Sword Art Online credit. The writer, Reki Kawahara, he's improving. I wouldn't know. I don't read the novels, but I've heard he's improving. So that's a plus for him. RWBY, in my opinion, is in decline. That's why this whole shebang is happening. So they kind of negate each other out. But I would say I like RWBY better because it's simply more personal to me. Sword Art Online, I don't care about the characters, okay? Like, they're tropey. They're generic for me. I know you can say RWBYs are kind of generic too. Maybe it's the language barrier. I hear them in English. I can sort of identify with them more, I guess. But RWBY is just more personal to me. Sword Art Online is just like, Elizabeth is like tomboy girl number 54. Asuna is waifu 5. So don't hate me if you like Sword Art Online. I liked it too. That was a long time ago. Number 2 from Salon Razor. How long do you think it would take for Cherish is going to start? 2020. Okay? And by start, I mean have episode 1, I guess. Finish, have the script by episode 1 by 2020. Fingers crossed. Okay? Like early 2020, I mean. Number 3. What was or were the worst scene or scenes in RWBY? The only one I can think up off the top of my head that I really didn't like is Maria's semblance. Like, oh, I have reflexes, child. I can catch this fruit while it's falling. Yeah, back then, everyone with an aura could do that. Everyone with aura could like do the most superhuman stuff. You can catch a fruit. That's your semblance. What everyone could do back. I don't want to gripe on it. Okay. I said too much already. I'm already getting dislikes just by saying this. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. I can't spell your name. I'm sorry. Arthurian TLM says, "You're the most beautiful Japanese person I've ever seen." When I read that, I was flattered, man. Like, no one's called me beautiful before. I'm flattered, thank you. I'm not Japanese, by the way. Being a weeb, I kind of wish I was, but I'm not. Thank you for that. Oh yeah, you asked something else. What kind of tropes and cliches you don't want in your stories? I kind of like tropes if they're used well. Tropes are popular for a reason. I can't think of any that I don't really like. I really don't know. I'm sorry. I don't like. I know I do like. I like cool shit. I can't say the bad word. I like cool stuff. You know. Sometimes against logic and reason. Go figure, right? But yeah, that's basically it. Ajiki, member of the server, asks, "How tall are you?" I'm Asian. Figure it out yourself. Chuckles the Clown asks, "What is the biggest change in this RWBY?" The one that you should probably know is obviously the location of Atlas. It got changed from Mantle, the North Pole looking part, to the Dragon continent, which is now Solitas. That is the biggest change. That's the most obvious change to the world, at least. It's a big geographical change, because I've already explained why. I don't want to go into a tangent, but what was it? I had a thought, then it disappeared. Never mind. I think that's all the questions. I might have missed some. I'm very sorry, or I merged them together because they were similar. I think that's it. So I'll end it here. This is long enough as it is. Oh yeah, so I promised that I'll tell you about my ships. Here we go. So ship-wise, I like Rose Garden, White Knight, and then Freezer Burn and Ladybug. As for why, I like Rose Garden for the same reason I like Deku and Ochako from My Hero Academia. It's just a very wholesome couple, you know, very straightforward, it's very wholesome, you know. Sometimes you just want a normal romance, and let's be honest, RWBY being RWBY, I don't see her really being a couple with anyone other than Oscar. I guess maybe I could see Lancaster. There's some. I prefer Rose Gundle. A White Knight. You see, if I said I like White Knight several years ago, I'd be laughed out of the damn room. Okay. Why I like White Knight? That's a whole essay. Okay, there's a story I imagine about White Knight, about Pyrrha, about how Weiss wouldn't given the time of day, but then because Weiss assumed that John had superficial feelings about her, and he technically does. I mean, teens in general do. But as she takes him more seriously, as she gets to know him more, I do think she'll view him as a romantic partner. But that's just chemistry-wise. Story implication-wise is how she would feel about that, knowing that what happens to Pyrrha, whatever happens to Pyrrha in this rewrite, she'll feel like, she's intruding on him. She wouldn't give him the time of day, and now she really like sees something in him, and it's like, I was wrong about you, and that's great, but you got that peer thing going on, so that's like a block, so I don't feel like I should cut in. I think that's interesting. I think that's a lot of potential for character interaction. I'll leave that at that. For Ladybug and Freezeburn, that was a hipster decision. I like them because they're not White Rose and Bumblebee. Interpret that as you will. The answer is not as harmful as you think. It's just because I see Bumblebee and White Rose on screen, like the clues, big quotes, the clues to it, more so than Freezeburn and Ladybug. So I just kind of like that due to the scarcity problem. I don't see much of it, so I can imagine what it might look like in a head. So I kind of like it, what I'm imagining. Because when Weiss and Yang hugged that volume 5, I don't remember. I liked it. It was a genuinely nice moment. I liked it, and I didn't consider Freezeburn until that moment, actually. Funny. Ladybug is just because Blake and Ruby never talked. Ruby's like, oh, what's your favorite book? Nothing else after that, okay? Nothing else. I want Blake and Ruby to really like connect. Platonically or not, whatever. Team Ruby should just interact more. That's a given. So that's it. Sayonara, goodbye, and oh yeah, I also like the ship called Bun Bun. You won't know what that is because it's original. So goodbye.